I don't think we're worried about being dated. I think we're way more interested about it being now.
What is more now than Zoomers?
Nerdrotic.com.
We are 1 month into the comic book shop crisis, and we're 1 month into the lockdown here in San Francisco. And as you remember, the comic shop crisis was kicked off with a Facebook post, in my opinion, from Brian Hibbs asking Marvel, DC, and Diamond to simply respond to his emails because he was being ghosted at the time. But on that very same day, as you remember, Marvel decided to announce the New Warriors with Safespace, Snowflake, and Trailblazer, which now has 212,000 downvotes and counting. Now, to prove that there is a synchronicity in life, yesterday, The New Warriors was supposed to be released, and it was delayed for a week. But on that very same day, Marvel ordered more pencils down. Marvel tells more comic creators to stop work for now. The New Warriors has been pushed to April 22nd, and I will be reviewing that comic, and I will be doing a live read on a live stream if and when it comes out, but maybe, just maybe, it won't. Marvel Comics has let freelancers know that they are to pause work on current Marvel Comics assignments. Previously, Marvel had paused 15 to 20% of titles being published as a result of the current global situation. With no print comic books being distributed to comic book stores, digital comics being suspended, and the Comics Hub solution being rejected outright by the comic shops, lots of publishers have asked creators to pause work for now. At the time, they chosen titles Rich Johnston, writer at Bleeding Cool. Maybe at the time, the chosen titles, or at this time, the chosen titles are described as titles linked to movie and TV launches such as Black Widow and Taskmaster, as well as launch titles that may need a more favorable publishing environment to launch in.
I know what you did. You're a damn predator. All right, just get the hell out of here. I got a goddamn campaign.
I might be going out on a limb here, but I'm guessing there won't be a favorable publishing environment for the New Warriors, featuring Safespace, Snowflake, Trailblazer, Screen Time, and B Negative. Now, some might argue that it has been the perfect publishing environment created by the likes of Gail Simone, Mark Waid, and Dan Slott to release the New Warriors and Children of the Atom, but at least Marvel had the good sense to delay the New Warriors 1 week. We will get into the reason why in just a moment, but apparently DC thinks it's a perfect publishing environment to release Gotham High, which they released last week, and I did read the entire 200-page graphic novel, and it didn't subvert any of my expectations. It was too awful to even review. Here's a page with Jack Napier as the Joker, Bruce Wayne, and Commissioner Gordon. I'm sure you can recognize who's who. Marvel Comics representatives confirmed to Bleeding Cool that they have paused some more titles for the same reasons as a few weeks ago, but declined to share the names or creative teams of specific titles as of yet. Daniel Kebblesmith? They stated that they would share more details in coming weeks. They also reconfirmed that all talent will be paid in full for their work that has been completed. Before the pencils down order. Hope you got your work done. Now today we got a follow-up article to that, and this is why I'm recording this video, because it has some very interesting and unfortunate information for comic book creatives at Marvel. More details for Marvel Comics' latest pause. They're not calling it pencils down anymore. And this, of course, comes to us from Richie Johnston. Yesterday, Bleeding Cool reported details on Marvel Comics' latest edict to some comic book creators to stop work on their current projects. The current situation has seen many comic book companies cease printing and publication and put projects on hold. DC Comics has reportedly moved some creators onto a new Batman black and white digital comic, but that is only a handful, and I'm sure comic shops love to hear that more creators are continuing to work on digital-only comics. Marvel initially stopped work on 15 to 20% of its titles, mostly new launches and those tied in with delayed movies. Now, chances are, especially with corporate speak, when you hear 15 to 20%, it's most likely 20 to possibly 30%. They really tend to spin things as positively as possible. That is very Disney of them. Yesterday, we heard that another 10 to 15% of titles have suffered a similar order and affected more of the ongoing titles. We're told that certain X-Men comics were already far ahead as part of the advanced Dawn of X scheduling, but books like Deadpool, currently by Kelly Thompson and Gerardo Sandoval, have also been included. If we add another 10 to 15% on top of 20%, we're looking at 30 to 35% of the titles at Marvel being shut down, almost half. And it looks like they're moving some people to digital first, moving past the comic shops. This is bad news all the way around. Today, we have learned that the effective creators include Jim Zub, author of Conan the Barbarian, which will upset Andre at Midnight's Edge, and a number of Empire spin-off books, which was their big summer crossover event, Patrick Zurcher, artist on Savage Avengers, and Adam Hughes, who is working on a Black Widow cover. I have also been told that the Alex Ross curated Marvel Anthology series is on hold, and that's a big deal, as is the ongoing Black Cat series by Jed McKay and Nina Vakuva. The pauses are all down to the projects rather than the creators. That's nice of them to say, but that's not entirely true now, is it? And these are just those that I have heard. The details may be different. I am happy to add or amend to those depending. Well, I will add and amend some. Now, I can't say with any certainty whether or not any of the creatives mentioned in this article have had anything to do with the pauses, but there have been creators like the Gail Simones, the Mark Wades, and the Dan Slotts who've had everything to do with it. I am told that Marvel is having a big meeting this week to try and put something together similar to DC Comics to keep their creators in work on new, possibly digital-first projects. As freelancers, Marvel is aware that they may seek work elsewhere. DC Comics is still hiring and producing more than anyone else right now, and the lure of creator-owned comics for a future Image Comics or crowdfunding right now on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and that's an interesting omission there, Rich Johnston, not even bringing that up, may suddenly be more appealing. Wow.
WTF, Gary? WTF? What the f does WTF mean? What the f? Oh.
I'm betting this looks appealing, or maybe this looks appealing. Those are two very popular campaigns run by YouTubers Ethan Van Sciver and Richard Meyer. Here's the problem though. They had their platform first, and that is required to run a successful campaign these days unless you are a marquee name like Todd McFarlane. You're just another schlub over here on this platform, so you're going to have to do the work and build it from the ground up. Ethan Van Sciver was a well-known name in comics. He had to do that, and it took him years. So you can't just pop over here and think you could start a YouTube channel and fire up your crowdfunding campaign. Just doesn't work like that, but good luck anyway. And one thing I did want to mention is Donny Cates. In a video, I think it was 2 or 3 ago, Cates probably has enough money himself to help a comic shop, and maybe he has and hasn't made it public. But instead of suggesting somebody else help Donny, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? And he is doing that. Donny Cates surprises another comic shop customers by paying for all comics on hold. He has now done that for 2 shops. Good on you, Donny. Now, maybe you want to dial back or maybe completely quit trying to blackball people from the industry. Now, since little Richie Johnson mentioned that DC is going to move some of their creatives over to the Batman Black and White anthology, might I make a suggestion for Marvel? Take some of your best and brightest and move them over to the New Warriors. It's one of their most viewed videos at 977,626 at time of recording, and it has almost 212,000 downvotes, which is a lot of interaction. I'm really shooting for 250,000 by the weekend. I know we can do it, folks. I can promise you it's one of the most anticipated comic books from Marvel in a long, long time, and it's going to do very well on this platform. Let's go to the people. Dank G77, Internet Gas, Safespace, Snowflake. Dude, how did you get this approved? Joshua Bartlett just stopped by to drop a dislike on this hot trash. Hey Menson, I think this dude sniffed a bit too much experimental internet gas. Daniel Pranther, I genuinely thought this was a joke. This is truly terrible. Arch enemy, we are going against putting labels on people. 10 seconds later, this is a goth kid. This man's entire diet is soy. Paul N, that's the reason Tony Stark wanted to die in Endgame. Makes sense now. In all seriousness, folks, I try to make these videos to bring some sort of change and to make you laugh, and the last laugh is on us because Marvel announced new Warriors variants today, proving that nothing is going to change when the direct market opens up, except for the fact that there'll be less comic shops for them to push their garbage in.
I don't think we're worried about being dated. I think we're way more interested about it being now.
What is more now than Zoomers?
Predatorial business practices by Marvel and DC, as well as antagonistic customer service from their employees, have turned this industry into a charity. And while there is some good work being done by some good people out there, it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be on its knees in 4 weeks. And as far as Disney and AT&T saving this industry is concerned, I want to give you a little perspective. The entire comic book industry grossed in 2018, because we don't have the 2019 numbers yet, $1.095 billion, the entire industry. This was outgrossed by one bad Disney Marvel movie, Captain Marvel, outgrossed the entire comic book industry at $1.128 billion. Again, that $1.095 billion counts Scholastic and manga sales as well. The superhero comic is less than half of that, and digital comics are 1/10 of that. Interestingly enough, some of the work being done out there to help comic book shops is being done by some of the people who help create the problem. And the reality remains the same for those creatives and for some comic book shops. Too little, too late. Emerald Phoenix Comics of British Columbia can't make rent closes. Comic book store Emerald Phoenix Comics of Aldergrove, British Columbia posted the following notice saying, "It's a sad day, but unfortunately for the first time after all these years, we haven't made enough money to pay the rent." Now, I'm wondering if the landlord wouldn't even forgive them for a month. That's a little cold-blooded. Chris Bodnar, Emerald Phoenix Comics owner, continued, "Giving the times we are in and the uncharted territory, we have asked our landlords for some leeway. None will be given, and they want their rent in full, even though there is assistance offered to them as property owners. As we aren't open to the public, nor have any new product coming in from our suppliers for the foreseeable future, their suggestion is to take out loans to cover the rent. Our government has also done nothing to protect small business in our situation." This is in Canada, by the way. They say they are offering loans. However, businesses as small as ours do not qualify for them, leaving us with the only solution of borrowing money at a higher interest rate to pay our rent for who knows how long, and to put ourselves further in debt. So with a heavy heart, I must submit. Now, I know exactly how Chris feels because under very different circumstances, I've had to write a letter like that, and it's been printed in bleeding cool, and it's heartbreaking, and you're going to have to go through a grieving process. And I feel for you, Chris, and I know most comic shop owners don't want any trouble. They just want to sell funny books, but some have contributed to the problem. Not all are innocent in this. And I heard one of the most disappointing things from the person who bought my shop, who I've been talking about quite a bit in these videos, that I have to address.
So if you look at the numbers on those crowdfunding projects,
Okay.
they're significant.
Those aren't customers of ours.
Oh God, Brian, you couldn't be more wrong. They are your customers.
Those are people buying the right thing.
Unfortunately, that statement is not unique within the industry. And yes, that's the Brian Hibbs who bought my shop. And no, I cannot defend that statement. Brian Hibbs has forgotten more about comic shop retailing, the ins and outs, the numbers, than I will ever know, but the customer service obviously needs a little work because he just intentionally or unintentionally called everyone who purchased those books alt-right, and Ethan and Richard are not. Neither are their customers, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that a couple of their customers do shop in one of your stores. I want to help comic book retailers, believe it or not. This does not help. Now, let's end this video on a somewhat positive note. Last week, I offered $1,000 to the first comic shop that could prove they're still in business and had an email. That was Keith's Comics in Illinois. Congratulations. I would like to offer another $1,000. So starting today, April 17th to April 21st at 12 p.m., shoot me an email, title it Comic Shop Help, and the first person who does, with a business license that I can verify, will win $1,000, no strings attached. That's it for now, everyone. I hope you have a great day. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like what you heard. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. Please support your local comic book shop if you can, and please be safe. I'll see you in the next video.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.